When we think about travel, most of us don't really consider safety. We choose based on cost, speed, or convenience. But what if we stop to ask a simple question? What's actually the safest way to get from point A to point B? Is it the car because you're in control? Is it the train because it runs on tracks? Or is it the plane, despite the fear many people have of flying? Let's be clear from the start. We're not talking about how it feels. We're talking about real-world data, hard numbers, verified statistics from global transportation agencies. And when you look at those numbers, everything you thought you knew about safe travel might flip upside down. Let's start with the obvious choice, the car. In the United States, driving is a way of life. More than 230 million Americans have driver's licenses. Roads connect everything. But here's the truth. Driving is by far the most dangerous common form of transportation. According to the National Safety Council, over 46,000 people died in motor vehicle crashes in the United States in 2022. That's more than 125 people every single day, and most of these deaths happen on routine trips, commuting, errands, family vacations. To really understand risk, we need to look at deaths per billion passenger miles, a standard metric that compares different modes of travel fairly. By that measure, car travel causes about 7.3 deaths per billion passenger miles. That number doesn't just represent fatal crashes. It represents millions of families affected, lives lost, and futures changed forever. Now let's switch to trains. Rail travel in the US is not as widespread as in Europe or Asia, but it's still significant. And in terms of safety, it's a major step up from cars. According to Federal Railroad Administration data, passenger rail travel results in approximately 0.43 deaths per billion passenger miles. That's about 17 times safer than traveling by car. Why is rail so much safer? It's because of controlled tracks, automated systems, and reduced human error. Trains are not immune to accidents, but most incidents are caused by vehicles or people entering tracks illegally, not by the trains themselves. In most cases, the train is the victim of human negligence outside the system. And then there's air travel. Many people fear flying. Turbulence, heights, mechanical failure. The idea of being trapped in a metal tube at 35,000 feet is enough to give some people anxiety. But here's the cold truth. Commercial air travel is the safest form of mass transportation on Earth. According to the International Air Transport Association, IATA, more than 39 million flights took off in 2023. Out of all those, there were just 30 aviation accidents, and only 2 of them involved fatalities. In total, commercial aviation saw just 158 deaths worldwide in 2023. To put that into perspective, air travel averages 0.07 deaths per billion passenger miles. That means it is over 100 times safer than driving, and about 6 times safer than taking the train. Statistically, your odds of dying in a plane crash are around 1 in 11 million. That's lower than your chance of getting struck by lightning, lower than your odds of dying in an elevator, and way lower than your odds of choking on food. So why do people still fear flying? It's simple: media coverage. Plane crashes, while rare, are highly publicized. A single crash might make headlines for weeks, but a deadly car crash? That's just part of the daily news cycle. There's also the illusion of control. When you're in a car, you feel in charge. You're behind the wheel. You decide when to brake, when to turn. But control doesn't equal safety. In fact, it often leads to overconfidence and more accidents. Planes, on the other hand, are operated by trained professionals who go through rigorous simulation testing, FAA certifications, and continuous safety protocols. Each aircraft is built with multiple backup systems. If one engine fails, the other works. If both fail, the plane can glide. If a pilot is incapacitated, the co-pilot takes over. In modern commercial aviation, even autopilot can safely guide a plane under many conditions. Trains also benefit from centralized control, signal systems, and low-speed variability. But unlike planes, they are still vulnerable to ground-level hazards, crossings, debris, or even pedestrians ignoring safety barriers. What about buses? In terms of safety per billion miles, buses rank even better than trains, averaging around 0.11 deaths per billion passenger miles. Why? Professional drivers, speed limits, and strict regulations. Even school buses, which lack seatbelts in most U.S. states, are statistically among the safest vehicles on the road due to their size, design, and high driver standards. And here's a twist. Even commercial ships and ferries tend to be safer than personal vehicles, although incidents on water can be more complex to measure due to varying international standards. So what's the bottom line? If safety is your top priority, flying is statistically the best option. Trains and buses follow closely behind. Driving, especially in personal vehicles, remains the most dangerous. Yet despite all this, most Americans choose to drive. Why? Because it's convenient. Because it's part of culture. Because people believe deep down that if they're in control, they're safe. But the numbers say otherwise. If you drove to work today, you took a much greater risk than if you had flown to another city. Travel safety isn't about fear. It's about facts. It's about probabilities. It's about understanding the difference between what feels safe and what actually is. So next time you're deciding how to get somewhere, think beyond habit. Look at the data. And remember, the most dangerous part of flying is still the ride to the airport. Subscribe us for more videos.